My name is Annette Casey, and I've been involved in the ELIC project since early last year. Over the past 5 weeks, I've been observing how this community of practice, and this is a term mentioned by Adrian in the first week, stemming from the work on social learning done by Etienne Wenger and Jean Lave. So how this ELIC community of practice, which is dedicated to the promotion of engineering literacy, has grown from week to week. So we've now reached week 6, the final week of the course, and it's time to recap and reflect on the content and on your experiences while participating in this MOOC. We'd like to identify where in your teaching and how you plan to implement some of the content of this ELIC MOOC. But first, let's take a look week by week at what's happened so far. In the first week, Daniel introduced you to the concept of the ELIC MOOC itself. He gave you some tips and words of encouragement to help you get settled in. That was followed by Adrian's introduction to the topic of literacy and its many different definitions. Now, he encouraged you to consider how you yourselves would define literacy. And I have to say, the variety of answers you provided serves to underscore the complex, multifaceted nature of the term literacy itself. Nevertheless, in spite of the fact that it is not a universal concept, we could see a common, underlying understanding emerging within the group. In addition, you were invited to share which modes you prefer to use to access information, as well as your own experiences with new literacies or new media. And finally, your contributions proved to be a real mine of information. Lots of ideas, lots of examples from your own classroom practice, all of which will help us put together a sort of toolbox to help you improve engineering thinking and promote STEM and engineering literacy in your pupils. Last but not least, you were asked to consider how we as teachers access and digest information. And this is in comparison to how our pupils access and digest information and how this impacts on your teaching. Overall, this was a great start to the 6-week course. In week 2, Richard and Miran dealt with the topic of e-motors, explaining not only the working principles, but also tackling the complex issue of systems engineering. They introduced you to systems components, system elements, and interfaces in powertrain solutions in cars, where e-motor concepts are currently used. Now, the overall aim of this week was to provide you with a general understanding, which allows you to implement content-related experiments in particular, with specific automotive functionalities into your teaching. While the technical content itself was challenging, the discussions in the assignments indicate to me that it's very much a core topic in automotive engineering. Richard and Miran were very happy to delve into expert discussions with you on the subject and also kindly summarize the content of the discussions into one document at the end. Week 3 saw the focus shift to the internal combustion engine, where Herbert and Wolfgang introduced you to basic engine mechanics, fuel types, the combustion process itself, exhaust gas after-treatment systems, and also addressed the social and environmental impact of ICEs. Here you were asked to reflect on your own daily experience with transportation, from your daily commute to which car you drive, why you chose it, and what might lead you to choose a car powered by alternative power sources in the future. And many of you appear to be already very well versed in the topic, and this led to very informative, interesting contributions and a host of links to background articles which could prove really valuable as springboards for introducing this topic in the classroom. The facilitators in week 4, Daniel and Thomas, gave an overview of battery systems by means of 3 separate presentations. Presentation 1 summarized the history of battery development, features of different battery types, and their common usage, with a specific focus, of course, on automotive applications. In presentation 2, we looked at modern battery management systems, their capabilities, as well as how they're designed. Charging and discharging, thermal management and battery lifetime optimization, all these formed the focal points here. And last but not least, presentation 3 addressed some key issues such as the influence of battery technologies on the environment, some ways in which EV battery packs can be reused or recycled, as well as background information on standard testing and safety procedures. Daniel and Thomas invited us to participate in short quizzes or to pause for a moment to think about how battery technologies may impact on our daily lives. They also provided input on how the topic can potentially be incorporated into STEM classes in the form of experiments. Again, this was a particularly technically challenging topic, but sparked some interesting and insightful contributions from your side. They also included presentations on lighting systems, particularly focusing on adaptive front lighting and matrix beam systems. Tim hosted the hot topics of energy management, autonomous driving, and cybersecurity in week 5. In energy management, you were introduced to energy transition, the electricity mix based on the example of Germany, as well as resource consumption and CO2 emissions. Tim also included some very nice game breaks, which I personally can see myself using in my own language classes. The section on autonomous driving provided definitions of what a self-driving car actually is, as well as the various different classifications or levels of self-driving vehicles. We learned something about the physics behind self-driving cars, the complex electronics involved, and we're confronted with some very thought-provoking questions about some of the legal aspects of autonomous driving, particularly concerning liability in case of accidents. Cybersecurity in the context of self-driving cars rounded off these hot topics. Here the focus was on sensors and actuators in the car, as well as how cyber attacks on self-driving cars can be prevented. And so here we are in week 6, and it's time to reflect. Now, Daniel has already mentioned the reflection assignment, the evaluation form, and the course certificate in his video. So I will leave you with a few concluding words from my side. As someone who's been directly involved in engineering education for over 20 years now, I'm deeply invested in the topic of domain or discipline-specific literacy. And if there's one thing I've gained from working in this project, then it's the confirmation that literacy, and in particular engineering literacy, is not a stationary thing. Or as one of you so nicely put it in the first assignment in week 1, it's not a safe haven that we need to reach, but more of an ongoing journey. So, on behalf of the ELIC team, I'd like to thank you for joining us on this little part of the journey. Thank you for your participation and for helping to create and enrich this international engineering literacy community of practice, enriching it with your experiences, your comments, your resources, and questions. We're really looking forward to reading your reflections in this week's assignment and to getting your feedback via the evaluation form. Not only that, we'd also be delighted to hear from you while the forum is still open about your experiences with using any of the ideas, materials, or tools presented and discussed here in your own classrooms. All the best.